Jade. So today I'm going to go over, Illinois has been very busy passing quite a few laws recently that are going to impact Illinois employers with all of these kind of recent law changes. So in sum, let's start with the Equal Pay Act. So this is effective beginning of 2022 and amends the Equal Pay Act to specify that the act does not prevent employers and applicants from discussing unvested equity or deferred compensation that an applicant would forfeit due to resigning from their current employment. So this is an amendment to the Equal Pay Act, and it's something that employers should, generally refrain from asking applicants about their compensation, but you may discuss this equity and deferred compensation if the applicant voluntarily discloses that. Next, the Illinois Freedom to Work Act. This is a new law that applies to really non-compete or restrictive covenants, and it expands limitations on these covenants and requires more from employers if you want to have your employee agree to such restrictive covenants. I actually went over this in the March 2022 Ask Jade, so please refer back to that. The next one, a Personnel Record Review Act. Again, effective 2022, this amends the current act. Now, an employee may file a complaint against an employer alleging that a disciplinary action that was previously taken against them was disclosed without their knowledge, and they have 3 years from the date of that disclosure to do this. So employers should remain, aware not to disclose these records about an employee to a third party without a prior written notice and consent from an employee. Next, prohibition against disability discrimination. So this amends the current fair practices employment laws in place in Illinois, and it expands it to specify that discrimination based on a disability includes discrimination against an individual because of their association with a person with a disability. Something to be aware of. Next is VESA, which is the Victims Economic Security and Safety Act. So this expands the definition of family or household members to include an individual whose close association with an employee is equivalent of a family relationship, and this is determined by the employee, whether it is equivalent to a family relationship or not. And it also extends the law's coverage to victims of any crime of violence and revises the certification and confidentiality requirements. So this greatly expands the class of persons protected by VESA, and employers should be aware of this. The Retirement Savings Program. So this has revised the program to apply to small employers. And the law now requires employers to participate if they have had at least 5 employees in the state during every quarter of the previous calendar year. Previously, employers with fewer than 25 employees were exempt. So this is something to be aware of. The next one is a prohibition against work authorization status discrimination. So this establishes that it is a civil rights violation for employers to discriminate on the basis of work authorization status. So employers should avoid gathering information about individuals' specific work authorization status beyond what is needed to establish whether the individual has federal employment authorization. Equal pay compliance requirements. So this now requires employers with over 100 employees to obtain an equal pay certificate, is what it's called, from the Illinois Department of Labor, and to certify that you're in compliance. So this is an action that you have to take, so be aware of that. Also, increased penalties under the Illinois Wage Payment and Collection Act. Employees are entitled to recover damages of 5% of any amount of underpayment of wages for each month after the date the wages were due but remained unpaid. So previously, underpaid employees were entitled to recover damages of 2%. It's gone up to 5%. Also, the expanded use of personal sick leave benefits. So employees are now allowed to use personal sick leave benefits if provided by their employer to provide personal care to family members. So that expands that quite a bit. And last, the prohibition on conviction record discrimination. Employers are prohibited from using an employee's or an applicant's conviction records as a basis for adverse employment actions, such as refusing to hire, promote, renew employment, unless there's a substantial relationship between the criminal offense and the employment. So that can be a bit convoluted and definitely going to be based on the facts of what's going on. So if you have questions about all of these new laws and how they affect you, feel free to reach out, and I'll see you next time.